right. Well, so for everybody joining today, watching this for the first time, maybe, you're just getting to know me. This is Max, and Max and I, we've been working together for a little over 3 months, 13 weeks, Max to my 13-week program. And yeah, so Max, let me just, ask you from the get-go, out of this 13-week journey, just looking back from when you started, when we first met to where you are now, what was just the biggest thing that you got from this journey working with me and together?
It's a good question, Madison. Yeah, it's been quite the journey. And I would say the biggest thing that stands out right now is just my ability to let go of things. I think that's the first thing that comes to mind, and a lot of people I know watching this who work with you or considering working with you, they either feel stuck probably, or they're feeling burdened by different negative emotions, whether it's depression or anxiety or sadness or fear or abandonment, all the different things that we talk about. And I think, the most sort of invaluable tool that you've equipped me with is showing me how to let go of that stuff. And once we're able to let go of those emotions that seem to hold us back, those negative emotions, we're able to move through life like in such a more fluid way, you know, and in a way that not only helps us in our, work lives or relationships, but just internally, I think that's the goal, right? Is just to feel good internally, ultimately, when you break it all down. And I think, this has been a huge, that's been the big thing for me, man, is just you've shown me and worked with me on how to let go of those emotions that weigh us down, that we hold on to, that are mostly subconscious. We don't even realize it. So, I think I've just feel a lot lighter than 13 weeks ago. I feel a lot more hopeful. I feel a lot more connected to the universe. I wasn't like an overly spiritual person before working with you, maybe a bit. I think now I would definitely put myself in the spiritual category. And yeah, and I think that's been a big thing for me, just sort of having faith, having hope, having confidence that, things are meant to be, and I'm okay with myself, and the universe has my back. So yeah, it's been huge, man.
I love that, man. And I've seen all the changes, from the get-go of, letting go of these really heavy emotions, helping you through them. And yeah, just really quick, what was that like just to let go of this stuff, off your shoulder, off your back? What does that actually even feel like, to someone who isn't quite gone through this yet?
Yeah, it's I can give you an example. Like the first week that we started working together, I took a little trip to a little island, Holbox. Some of you know if you've been to Mexico. And I remember doing some of the initial work that you gave me, and just sort of doing one of the techniques that you equipped me with. And I remember feeling like completely free that those first few days after doing some of the initial work with you. It was like there was like a fearlessness that came over me. It was like, you're going to be okay. You've got this. There was like a real, true confidence, not like an ego confidence, like a true at your core, at my core confidence. Um, so I think that that's a good example of how I feel, and how some of this works, impacted me. And it's still a journey for me, but yeah, overall, there's just more of like a stability, a groundedness, and like a real confidence, a real feeling of like fearlessness. Was
Yeah,
that the
yeah,
question? Did I answer it?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Like, we don't go through this stuff for nothing, right? It gives us these
Yeah.
incredible internal experiences, which, shows up in every different areas of our life. So let me ask you a bit more about that. So, for everyone who, maybe doesn't know you, and a lot of people online do know you. So could you tell a little bit about, how we met, what it is you actually do professionally, because it's super interesting. And then, yeah, what led you to want to work with me?
Sure. Yeah. So we met on a dating app. Just messing around with everyone that's watching.
That's his joke to everybody, but it gets people.
We met at Habad House at like the Jewish Center in Tulum, Mexico, on a Friday night, I believe. So we met at a dinner, and that's how we connected originally. And I remember you telling me what you did, and I was curious, but I didn't. I was still a little skeptical, right? I wanted to get to know you a little bit more before I made the commitment to work with you. But what I do personally is well, I'm a communication skills coach. So I help people with their communication skills. I help people become more confident, more engaging speakers. And I have a YouTube channel, and I have a community there, and I analyze all different types of people's communication skills. So yeah, that's sort of my thing. And uh, yeah, that's what I do. It's unique. It's cool. This kind of work has definitely helped me in my professional world as well, because I a lot of us can relate to this, like just sort of being in your head, making decisions intellectually as opposed to making decisions and assessments with your heart, with your gut, with your instinct. So I think I've been able to tap into that part of myself way more naturally, and it's been helpful in that sense. I think I've been able to show a different side of myself on camera in my job, in my work, in the seminars that I do, that people are able to really connect with more deeply, as opposed to just sort of connecting on that more intellectual level. And I knew how to connect with people already, but this feels more authentic and true to form. So
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, the whole shift, we're making this journey, right? Is so much of us are, because of our trauma, we're kind of stuck in our head, and then we're analyzing
yeah.
things, we're judging things, we're over intellectualizing things. And the journey I just saw with you, and I help people do is, get out of the messiness of the head, which makes us indecisive, contemplating fears and dropping into your heart. And as we did the work together, I started to notice you're speaking from the heart. And I
Mhm.
really felt that within our communication, when I saw you communicate with others, and then definitely your YouTube audience, I think they could certainly feel that you were speaking from that other place, which is
I always knew
incredibly
that
powerful.
intellectually. I always knew that that's what people really connect with. Like people feel the passion. It's hard to describe. You can't really quantify passion, right? You can't put a number on it. It's just a feeling, and I think people really can sense, when someone's being real and they're speaking from their heart. And
Yeah.
if you have an audience, if you're in sales or you're in marketing, or even if you're just a regular person in a relationship, right? That heart to heart connection is very powerful.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So let me ask you, just backing up a bit, like, we met at the Abad House, and then what was it initially that was going on in your life, or challenges that you were having that, kind of, led you to want to work one-to-one with me to make that jump?
Yeah, good question. I think I was feeling. Let me just try to think at that time. Stuck comes to mind, like just like the
Hmm.
feeling of kind of being stuck, and I remember you asking me like where I was in my life in terms of if I had to put it on a scale from 1 to 10, you know, where's my well-being at overall? And I think I might have said like a 3 or a 4, you know, and I don't want to live like that. I want to live, a 10. I want to be able to wake up excited to take on the day, confident to take on the day, loose, light, in tune with myself, all those things. And I think so many of us can relate to that. We want to be able to wake up and feel fearless and free and true to ourselves, right? And that's how I wanted to feel, and I wasn't feeling that way. I wasn't feeling that way, and I still have work to do. I've come a long way for sure, but when I started, I certainly felt like there was a fear in me. I wasn't like speaking my mind fully, or I wasn't like tapping into who I really was. And there was still like a veneer, there's still a mask. And as you identified and as we identified, like those come back to fears that we have, fear of being abandoned, fear of being unworthy, or just, believing those things. And, on some level, I knew that was true, and I didn't want to feel that fear anymore. And I wanted to, wake up feeling excited and awesome,
Yeah, yeah. Let me ask you a
you
bit
know?
further about that. Like, there's so many different, emotional traumas we experience. Everyone experiences. And one of the recurring ones that affects so many people, even just the top people I work with, top entrepreneurs, top salespeople, including myself, is this abandonment trauma. We it comes about in different ways in early childhood, but can you just talk a little bit about how, like, maybe it manifested for you, and you worked through a ton of it, right? And that's where I saw many changes. You care to speak a bit more about that? Just working through all of that we
Yeah.
did.
It was, it's scary. It was scary, but it's worth it. It's like, that's one of the things you helped me with was actually like releasing that out of my body. Like I've burped more times in the past 13, 15 weeks than I ever have in my life combined, because that's one of the ways you showed me how to release these emotions. And if you work with Madison, then you'll see that you're going to be burping a little, but that's okay. That means you're releasing stuff, and that's a good thing. Um, but doing that internal work of releasing, those feelings of abandonment. Yeah. Yeah. It's just about being comfortable with being alone. And I think the biggest thing for me was actually like accepting that I was scared to be alone, accepting that had this fear of abandonment, and part of the process is just accepting that about yourself. Like you have these fears. That's part of what we worked on, and what you showed me is like just accept that, you know, these negative emotions are a part of you. And once we accept that, then we make space for them, and then we can let them go. And yeah, yeah, I feel way better about being with myself. I think a lot of us can relate to the fact about like when we're alone, we're always like searching for something to do, whether it's like scrolling on social media or like distracting ourselves in some way, eating, exercising, going for, a run, watching TV, scrolling through social media, calling a friend. Like those aren't necessarily inherently bad things, but what we're doing is we're distracting ourselves from being with ourselves. So I think unloading some of those fears of abandonment allowed me just to sit with myself more and enjoy it as well.
Yeah, man.
I
I
kind
mean,
of
as you
on there. I don't know if I don't know if that was clear, but
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you're totally right, man. This abandonment trauma, the fundamental trauma is we abandon ourselves, and we go
yeah,
outside ourselves to other people, distractions, whatever it is, to kind of get this part where it's all within us. But it's so pervasive in our society to just not connect with ourselves. So let me ask you this, because I remember there were some powerful experiences you did have, whether it was at the island in Holbox or Listica. What was it really like again to really know and connect with yourself? Because that's what this journey is really about a lot of time. It's just to really to know thyself, to really to know yourself better.
you just feel more like a solid person. You just feel more confident in yourself. You feel like just more aligned in terms of like what you want and what you should be doing and what you need to be doing, like in a very grounded way. Like I felt like more like a man, really. I felt more like centered and strong and courageous. And I know that sounds cliche, but that's what comes to mind. Is like I felt more like a man, like a true, like a real man.
Well, it makes
Um,
total sense, man. And let's go deeper on this because it's super interesting,
yeah,
right? Because a lot of the work, especially when I work with men, and I do a lot of male entrepreneurs, is when we are working on these childhood emotions, right? It keeps us in this contracted state of childhood, a consciousness that's, stuck from back then. So as you started to release that stuff, you naturally started to develop. I remember your voice deepened one day. You came to the Abad house. I remember you just felt more grounded in your body, more strong. So yeah,
yeah,
talk a little bit more about that. Just kind of how it kind of seeped into the masculine development kind of work.
yeah. I think when you're not avoiding yourself and you're able to get more centered within yourself, and more comfortable with yourself, you develop more of a more of a fearlessness, right? Like you're with yourself and you know you're okay and you have your own back, then you're able to take on the world in a different way. So I think, when you have your own back truly and you're there for yourself truly, which getting rid of this abandonment does, it allows you to like really be with yourself and be there for yourself. Um, you just feel more confident going into the world. And I think, when you think about like what's a true man, you think about like a warrior archetype or a king archetype, these are people who are very centered and grounded and know what they want, know who they are, and are okay with responsibility. And people come to them as opposed to them, needing the validation and attention from others.
Yeah,
So,
that's a huge one of the abandonment energy, right? It's this kind of the whole energy is external. It's I need approval from everybody else. I need everybody's needs are gonna, meet my needs. I want people to like me. It's all on the external. So this journey, coming home, we did it with you and do it with everybody else is it's something that we don't really need it. We just need to connect
yeah.
with ourselves, meet our own needs. And I saw you did so much of that. So what was
Yeah,
it
man.
like,
I
when
remember
I'm, yeah.
sorry, I remember big shifts. Like now that you're saying this, like going to the Chabad house for dinner. I remember just one night going there and feeling so just centered within myself, like more than I'd ever felt before. And just like just feels really good because you don't have to search. Like you have so much more energy because we give so much of our energy away trying to like gain approval or get attention or get validation. But once it's within us, we have such a sort of limitless source of energy reserve within us. So
Yeah. And I remember,
yeah,
you're in
yeah,
a
I remember
particular
clearly.
position, right? Because you're a public person, right? You're a YouTuber, right? Max is very humble, but he's got a really incredible following, and maybe we can drop the channel, name in the comments. But yeah, he's in front of hundreds of thousands of people daily, right? And that has what comes with it just a lot of stress, and he's making content to you know to for his fans, but it's I remember we started to let go of some of the stresses that come with that. You want to talk a little bit about what that was like, just letting go of kind of those caring so much about what other people think. And I remember it even kind of affected some of your what you really wanted in your heart to say. Some of it was a bit political, but it seemed you worked quite through that.
Yeah. Sorry, what was so just talking about just speaking on what's on my heart or
Well, what I noticed is when you started to let go of basically caring too much about what other what your viewers want to think, right? And you're really
yeah.
able to kind of drop into what you actually wanted to put out. It seemed like there was a pretty big shift
Yeah.
internally.
Yeah, definitely a big shift internally and I just feel like I was able to get more real with my viewers and not yeah, there's a real sort of empowering feeling knowing that you can speak your mind and everything's going to be okay,
Yeah,
right? And I think the reason we don't really speak our mind fully is because we're scared of what the response is going to be. Obviously, there's like real consequences sometimes with certain people, like people who have a job that they need to support their family and they're go on some crazy tangent, they can risk getting fired. Like I understand that. I happen to be in a position where I can still say some things that are on my heart, and even if people don't like it, I'll be okay, probably. So yeah, it feels liberating. It's empowering, and and you know, you're going to cultivate relationships, and in my case, an audience that is more in line with who I am, and you're going to cultivate uh, relationships that are more meaningful when you're speaking your mind and when you're being honest, you know.
it's one of the
Um,
biggest shifts I believe I saw in you, right? Is when we have these traumas, right? We do so much to hold up these masks. You could call it, we could
yeah,
call it masks or acting. Your actual profession, right? Is it kind of lends itself to acting. But it seemed like, as you were able to kind of drop these masks, you call it the defenses, whatever. But as you're able to be more authentically you, it felt like I was able to just connect with you in such more a radiant way because your light was shining. You were really you. It was authentic and it's powerful, and I think everybody can feel it.
yeah, I agree, and I've gotten a lot of comments since, more meaningful comments, and more like people used to comment a lot more on the content, on like the people that I was reviewing. Now I'm getting more comments on like me and my personality, and I love you, Max, and that kind of stuff. It's nice, obviously, to get, but there's a shift in the energy in that sense. Like, people are actually really feeling me, and there's some people that aren't feeling me too, which is a good sign, right? I'm not on the fence as much, and I'm not trying to please everyone and trying to appease like the largest audience possible. I'm being more myself, and as a result, I'm getting true fans and true people who fuck with me and connect with me, as opposed to people who would leave me the second I say something that offends them or that they don't align with necessarily.
Yeah, it was a part of the early part of your journey. I remember, it's gonna be true of any entrepreneur, anyone that's got a public persona, right? Is they're gonna have to choose, right? Are they gonna be authentically themselves, or are they gonna cave into what other people
Yeah.
want, and that's not them? But I do remember that, you in the beginning you were kind of receiving some, I think it was around politics, but you were receiving some negative feedback, and at first, it had a little bit of a pull on you. Like, as you started to do the work, I remember you one day saying, Madison, it doesn't affect me at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I still struggle with that a little, but I'm way better at it now. Um, Man, I'm just trying to think of a specific moment now. Yeah. I mean, I think there are so many more moments now in my life after working with you where I'm not, I can just put something out there, and like, no matter what, like, I think that's the biggest takeaway from all of this. It's like, no matter what, I'm going to be okay. Like, before, I didn't feel like I was going to be okay. And I was like the scared boy who, if I said something that someone really hated or disagreed with, like, there's no way I could handle that. Because again, it goes back to what we worked on, is this fear of being alone. If someone rejects me, then they're going to leave me. They don't like me, they're going to leave me. And if they leave me, then I'm alone. And once I'm alone, I'm fucked. But once we work through all that and realize, like, hey, we can be alone at your core, you realize that, yeah, man, it's okay. And I can say things and people can disagree with me. People can even hate me for it. But this is true in my heart in the moment. And maybe I am wrong. Maybe I'm not. But I got my own back. The universe has got my back. So I'm good. So there's a lot more of that now. And that's very freeing and extremely liberating.
I love that. There's a few things I love to hit upon. One is in the beginning, you said, before working together, maybe you want to consider yourself as spiritual, and now it's maybe a different story. So would you mind even sharing about, like this, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, your manifestations and the numbers you're seeing and your synchronicities with me? Would you mind sharing a
Oh
bit
yeah,
of that?
I'm seeing stuff all the time now. After working with Madison, I'm seeing 111 on the clock all the time. It seems like every time I look, every time there's an 1111, I happen to see it. Uh, but like 456, 333, 444, 555, I'm seeing all these numbers here, and I know that's just sort of the universe telling me that it's watching me, that I'm on the right track, that I'm on the brink of something happening. Even I'm looking at things differently in the sense that I believe that things happen for you as opposed to they happen to you. And my perspective is kind of shifted in that sense. Like, yeah, you know what, that moment where the waiter earlier fucked up my order, it's all right. I'm not going to get upset about it. I'm not going to get stressed. Like, maybe that was for me, and maybe that was all for a greater purpose or a greater reason in this moment. And I remember, even at specific time working with you, probably remember this, I got my car towed in Tulum. And if that had happened to me like 5 weeks prior, before we started working together, that would have ruined my whole day. Probably my next day too, because it was a lot of money and it was a bitch to figure out where to go and what to do. But no, I was like, you know what? This is a lesson for
It's
me.
444
And
now.
it, you go
I
for
just
me.
look.
This is a lesson for me. And once I adopted that mindset of like, you know what, maybe this car towing situation happened for me, I ended up having a great day, and it was just part of the day, and it was part of the experience, and it was part of the journey. And I met someone along the way, and I connected with my friend who drove me to the towing company. And I learned about I was able to reflect on Mexico and Mexican culture, and it was all for a purpose. So I think, yeah, I have definitely become spiritual. I have been looking at things more like this is for me. This relationship was for me. And I think you feel a lot more liberated and empowered when you look at the world in that way.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, things are popping up all the time. It's crazy. It's crazy. Right now. There you go. The numbers on my stove right now. I'm in Toronto. 456, 645. You know, 456. It's
Yeah,
something in there.
Ascension.
6, you know.
Max is this incredible story. When we started working together, I think maybe third or fourth week, we started going into the archetypes. So there's a famous book called King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, and I believe I sent Max the Amazon link, but I think within like a few days, Max, and I think I have the story right, but he walked us to some very arbitrary bookstore. I think they only had just a small bookshelf, and in
There's
that
like 50
bookshelf
books.
happened to be this book, and he bought the actual physical version in English and manifested it like just like that. It was
Was
crazy.
wild. I wanted one book. I was looking for one specific book that Madison recommended. I wasn't going to buy any other book. That was the one book I needed and wanted. And I walked in, I look on the shelf after 30 seconds, I find it. So yeah, that was pretty magical for sure. Yeah, magical stuff started popping up this, a week or two after we started working together. Yeah, there's all sorts of synchronicities, all sorts. Yeah, it's been special, man. It's been a journey for sure.
Definitely. Let me ask you another kind of question. So, a lot of people who are on this journey, when they come to talk to me, right? A lot of them, there's an aspect of it that, it's about healing, changing things within. And traditionally people, they go to, or they think about going to a therapist. That's the first thing we do in maybe Western society. And I know you've experimented with that and a few other things. So would you mind explaining what, from your experience, what's the difference between, going kind of that route and then, I remember at some point, I think your therapist even said, I think you need to start doing energy work. And that's when you
I
started talking
should.
to me.
I actually have to credit my therapist for like you and I working together, because he was just like, I think we're at a point where you need something different and you need to work with like a spiritual guide or an energy healer of some sort. Because, we both identified there was something stuck in me. And that's really your specialty, is like working with the emotions that are stuck inside of you and getting rid of releasing those. I don't want to say getting rid of those, because it's not a forceful, it shouldn't be like a forceful process, because there's a lot of just accepting and surrendering involved. And yeah, really, really, I would say the biggest difference is just the results. Just for me, are way more palpable. I'm able to really actually feel a difference in my body, in my heart, in my mind, working with you. Definitely the biggest changes I've ever had in my life is working with you, for sure. Um, and there's theory, but it's a physical thing. Like a lot of it is like energy release and energy work, and you have to do the work. Like if you're committed to getting better and feeling better, you will feel better doing this work, but you have to be committed to it. And as long as you take the time every day, or as much as you can, my advice would be every day, carving out as much time as you can, then you're going to feel way different. You're going to feel way different.
Yeah. So
So
to someone who's like, yeah, we always talk about the inner work, right? Like, and who's new to this, maybe they've done a little bit of therapy, but like, how would you actually describe the inner work, the shadow work, the releasing techniques? What's that even look like for you?
I'll
What's that
just,
experience
yeah,
like?
for sure. I mean, I'll tell you, like, so yeah, so it's different than therapy in that it's more hands-on and it's more practical. I'll say that.
Hmm.
And in terms of the actual work, it's a lot of just sitting with your emotions, sitting with the feelings, getting in touch with your body. So let's say something triggers you, like someone says something to you and it bothers you, it makes you feel a certain way, angry, sad, depressed, fearful. You're sitting with that, as opposed to our normal reaction of like distracting ourselves or firing back, right? Kind of taking part in that negative energy. It's like distancing yourself from that and going back to your home and sitting with yourself, as hard as it is in that moment. Just once you're able to realize that you can sit with yourself and sit with these, somewhat difficult emotions, then that's like the first step, is just like being aware. Okay, I'm triggered, being aware, and then sitting with yourself. And then once you're sitting with yourself, you're almost just like identifying what that is and not judging it. You're not moralizing that feeling. You're not trying to assess it or judge it. You're just feeling it and accepting it and making space for it. And essentially what we're doing is we're accepting different parts of ourselves. We're accepting that we do feel guilty. We're accepting that we do feel fear. And that's all a part of us. And once we accept ourselves, that's where the true freedom comes. And that's where the true letting go of those negative emotions come. So
Yeah.
a lot of the work is sitting with yourself. It's just two major things: is being aware of when, a trigger happens, or when you're feeling shitty or negative or something comes up, just being aware of that feeling, identifying it in your body and sitting with it. And then Madison will lead you through the rest in terms of showing you how to let go of that and accept it. And there's lots of different ways you can do that. I think we worked on like 4 or 5 solid techniques that have been helpful. Whether it's like writing down, sentences, or asking yourself questions, or, certain self-talk. Dude, I'm fucking Mr. Spiritual Guru over here. I have a pendulum. I never thought I'd have a pendulum. I'm able to sort of like scan different emotions in my body now and identify what certain pains are, and, figure out what needs releasing. And yeah, it's been, it's
One
been
of
a lot.
the ways in which I design all of this work, in which, I work with Max, and he's showing you the pendulum tool now, is when I went to therapy, it was kind of this system of we kind of hope you're here for life, and we'll give you meds, and you're a product for life. And the way I really hope to design my program is that you have all the tools to help yourself to become your own healer. And you're describing now,
Yeah.
you have some of your own tools. Do you feel, again, when I asked you if you wanted to extend, you said no, you felt like you already had all the tools you needed, which is great. I'm happy that you have the self-sufficiency and the knowledge to carry on your path, with everything that you know. So you talk a little bit about that, just what it's like to know how to do it yourself.
Yeah, man. No, it feels good. Yeah, it feels like I mean, now I feel like I rely on like 2 or 3 tools that have been really helpful to me, but you'll find what works best for you. No, it feels good knowing that. Like I said, back to my original point about like, hey, I'm confident that I'm going to be okay. You know, Having these tools increases that confidence. Feeling more spiritual, feeling like the universe has my back, feeling more free and confident and fearless in myself, but also having these tools, knowing that like, okay, I'm feeling really shitty right now, but I know now that I can just go and look at one of 4 or 5 of these tools and figure out how to center myself again, and I'll be okay. So yeah, it's great. It's amazing.
Awesome. Let me ask you this, you've been an entrepreneur for a very long time. You've got your YouTube business now. Before that, you're doing your, communications coaching with people, with different companies, governments would hire you. So you've been an entrepreneur for a while, and it's definitely a very particular kind of journey. And this is who I'm, mostly helping right now. So for a lot of entrepreneurs, that are in the business world, that are kind of, looking in about this inner work and spirituality and energy healing and all these things, we're talking about, how could you kind of describe what really the real benefit is for them, as they're managing their companies, in leadership positions, as an entrepreneur, how would you describe to them like the real benefits for doing this kind of inner work?
You're going to be able to make better decisions. From an entrepreneurial perspective, you're going to make decisions that align more truly with your values and what you believe, and you're going to be able to make, yeah, I would say better I would say better business decisions. And as a result, I just feel like you're probably going to live a more fulfilled life, when we're making decisions personally and professionally that are more in line with who we are. And you're going to be able to do that because you're going to be feeling more free and confident and whole in who you are. So yeah, I think it's a game changer for entrepreneurs in that way. And I think you're going to be attracting more people too, right? That's another big thing. It's just like you just become so much more attractive as a person after doing a lot of this work. And you touched on it earlier with like the abandonment. It's like people can sense whether you need them or not. Like there's just you know, a groundedness and a centeredness that attracts people to you. So if you're an entrepreneur, that's obviously huge, right? When you're looking for clients or, connecting with other partners, like people want to be around you more and people want to connect with you more. And, that's a massive game changer, massive game changer. So yeah, I would
Definitely.
say those are two big reasons. Yeah. What do you
Definitely.
think?
Absolutely, man. All last year, one of my biggest clients was it's helping salespeople with their energy, right? So it's just when we have these abandonment energies, it's survival energy, right? It's just I need somebody else. I want your approval. I like you. It doesn't carry too well in the business world, and it definitely doesn't carry too well in our personal relationships. Finding a perspective, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, because that energy it's not secure, right? And it's like other people can sense there's something off this person. They want something from you. It's like, please like me. I want this from you. I want the sale. Please work with me. And it has this unfortunate effect of pushing people away. So when we
Yeah.
do that at work,
So I think for entrepreneurs, back to the decision making and the clarity, it's just like, this is who I am, and this is what I want to do, and this is what I believe. And you're going to attract the right people into your business by doing that, whether it's customers, partners, employees, right? That's what it comes down to. Because doing this work, you just become more aligned and with who you are. And when you're more aligned with who you are, you're more confident to speak your truth. Not only do you know your truth more, but you're more confident to speak it. And as a result, when you speak your truth, that's when you're attracting the right people into your life and making better business decisions in terms of, this is what I truly believe. This is what I believe is right. And we make so many decisions in our lives as entrepreneurs, as, salespeople, as whatever, based on fear. And,
Mhm.
I think your creativity can increase a lot too. Like you're just thinking outside the box. You're not as fearful. There's a lot of benefits. There's so many.
the one really big takeaway you spoke about today was that you said, no matter whatever happens, you're going to be okay. So what's it like
Right.
creating from this place where you don't really have that fear and it's all going to be okay. So what's it like to create from that place for people that they might not even know they're creating out of fear, but what's that kind of transition like?
Yeah, man, it's awesome. You can take more chances. Like I said before, like you're just you can be more creative. You can be more flexible. Yeah, obviously, you still have to be cognizant of certain things, and you're not going to just like go crazy and spend all your money on one stupid video or something like that. But you're making more creative, flexible, calculated decisions. It's not as rigid. You're not as timid. Yeah, it feels more freeing, and yeah, there's just more like a trust in your gut. Like, I'm going to try this. I think this is going to work. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And you know that, hey, I have the confidence and the smarts to make it happen if this doesn't work. And that's sort of the feeling of being okay with yourself. And that's what a lot of this work has done. Like, I'm not worried about the judgment of failure as much. I'm not worried about the judgment of others as much. So I'm able to take these chances because even if I do fuck up, I know I have it within me to make it happen again. And I also know that I'm still okay. I'm not a bad person and I'm not a stupid person because I'm good with me.
I love it, man. Let me ask you one kind of final question, for the other entrepreneurs, business people that are, kind of on the outside, prospecting, seeing what this work's about, and then maybe even to them right now, it looks like, oh man, it looks even a little bit challenging. You gotta jump into some stuff you don't want to. But just going back to the very beginning, like where they are at, now, maybe right before they jump into this, what was your biggest fear or hesitation, about, working with me or the program or doing this kind of stuff? And like what happened,
I,
instead?
my skepticism was like, is it going to work? Like, I was just skeptical of whether this was going to make a change. And, I wasn't scared because I knew I wanted to make a change. So like, what I was telling myself was like, do I want to live at a 4 out of 10 the rest of my life? I know I have so much more to give to the world. I know I have so much more to give to myself. I know I can be like, way less hard on myself. I know I can be way more excited to get up in the morning. I know I can be so many different things, less depressed, less anxious. Like So it's like you need to ask yourself, how long are you going to wait to live and make a change? And do you want to continue living the way you are or not? I think it's as simple as that. Like, do you want to live a better life? Do you want to feel better day to day? Do you want to get the most out of life? Do you want to get the most out of relationships and experiences? I think anyone watching this does. So, I think it was just a pretty easy, switch for me. Once I trusted you and talked to you and liked you and heard about some of the stuff you did, then I made a decision and I was like, you know what? Let's give this a go. Why not? You know? Um, and yeah, man. So there you go. So yeah, I guess my answer is why not? Why, if you want to feel better and live better, then I see no reason, unless, obviously you have no money, if finances are completely holding you back. But, aside from that, I mean, if you have the money, then it's you can't really put a price on this type of investment, right? This is your life. This is everything. I remember coming into working with you. I'm like, this is everything. This is everything. And it should
Yeah.
be. This is your
Yes.
life.
Yeah, I remember you telling me this, and yeah, it hit me hard. Yeah, definitely.
People are obviously watching this and interested in working with you for a reason. So why not? Why wouldn't you give it a try? I mean, even if you can improve your life from a 4 out of 10 to a 7 out of 10, let's say, that's huge. Why wouldn't
Yeah.
you? And potentially a 10 out of 10. So yeah, it's a no-brainer, right? If you want to improve your life, then you should work with Madison.
I love
This is,
it.
to me, this is the core of it all, right? Is just letting go of those negative patterns, those beliefs that hold us down, and feeling fearless and free and good about ourselves. So that's it, man.
I love it, man. And I just want to thank you for coming on today and sharing your experience and our journey with everybody. Before we wrap up, is there any one last thing you want to say off your mind or to finish with?
You're gonna keep growing your beard.
I just shaved yesterday.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks good. No, man. Just I hope to see you in Tulum very soon. I miss it, and I'll be down in Mexico in no time.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
other than that, nothing really. We're all in this together, right? We're all going through this journey together. So um, let's if you guys end up working with Madison, feel free to reach out to me too. And let's we all have a lot to give to the world, and we need to tap into that source and make it happen, not only for ourselves but for other people too.
Can't be said better. So Max, thank you for coming on today. Where people do want to learn more about you, watch your awesome content, where can they find you?
You just check me out, my website, potatochipcommunications.com. Um, or you can go to my YouTube channel, Max Beaumont. You can check me out there.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll put it in the description. All right, Max, thank you so much again to come on today, sharing your experience, and love seeing you, your beautiful new hair. And yeah, I'm sure I'll see you in Tulum soon, man.
Sounds good, man. Thanks, Madison. Great to see
All
you.
right. See you,
Talk
bro.
soon, buddy.